the first time I saw her
Oh my
smile,
gosh.
Wow.
I was like, that's an angel right there.
Wow.
And then she didn't talk to me. She ghosted me for 9 months.
It did.
That's what queens do.
And
I
was
tell
like,
you.
It did.
I was hustling on the phone. I was like, all right, what do I got to do to get her attention?
Yeah.
So, but then she finally gave me one other chance.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I
fell in love on the second date. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, I feel like this is the guy I could marry. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Couple Things,
with Shawn and Andrew
a podcast all about couples.
and the things they go through.
Today,
We are sitting down with Brian and Sonia Nhira. This is going to be a different episode in a lot of different ways. Do you want to tell them why?
we have said to date that this is our favorite interview we have ever done. And I think it's because this is actually an interview where they are interviewing us.
Yes.
We loved it so much, we wanted to share it with you guys on our channel.
That's right.
And we love it because they challenged us so much with our questions because they took it a step further.
Yeah.
It was always a little bit deeper. They would ask why, where did it come from? And as a couple, it sparked a deeper conversation between you and I than we've had in a really long time.
That's right. We talked about a lot of different things, including what we want our legacy to be.
Yes.
What was it that attracted us to each other during the dating process beyond just the high level things, and a lot of different things. But this also serves as a bit of a teaser to
Yes.
Brian and Sonia's podcast that they have that this was a part of, called Growing with the Nhiras. And if you enjoyed this episode, then you'll enjoy the rest of their episodes, because you're going to see in this episode big smiles, big laughs, interesting questions. And I just think they're wonderful people. I want to spend time with them.
They are so passionate about helping other couples connect and grow within their family by asking these deep questions and sparking really good conversation. But to give you like a little glimpse as to what some of their other episodes are about, they talk about unrealistic expectations in a marriage, which is amazing, how to resolve conflict, how to thrive in your season of singleness, which is not us, babe, and staying connected in busy seasons of life, plus more. All of their episodes can be found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts, and on their YouTube channel, which you have to go check out because, like Andrew alluded to earlier, they probably have the most beautiful smiles I've ever seen.
It's amazing.
It is
great.
amazing.
So thank you to Brian and Sonia for joining us on the show. Thank you for joining the network Family Made. We've enjoyed getting to know you. And if you want to find out more and learn more about Brian and Sonia and what they're up to, then we'll include links down below. But let's roll into this with Brian and Sonia Nhira.
Welcome to Growing with the Nhiras podcast, presented by Family Made Media.
Yes.
We are the Nhiras, and we're on a journey to learn and grow with you in the areas of faith, purpose, and relationship.
Oh my goodness. I am so excited about this podcast.
Yes.
I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna
I am
lie.
too.
I'm a
I
little
feel
nervous
very
right
good.
now.
No.
My lip is
Because
sweating.
we are clearly
not here.
in the presence of greatness.
Yes.
Before
That's awesome.
before I say their names, I'm gonna read their bio.
Come on.
Well, their bio says their name, so I'll say we have Andrew and Shawn Johnson East with us today. Andrew is a former professional football player turned entrepreneur and social media personality
Let's go.
from Indianapolis, Indiana. That's correct, right?
That's right. That's
Let's
right.
go.
Shawn Johnson East is an accomplished gymnast. That's like a very, very, very like understated
Absolutely.
way of putting it. Author and television personality. As a couple, Andrew and Shawn have documented their personal and professional lives on social media, allowing their fans to follow their journey as parents, entrepreneurs, and advocates for healthy living. Their most recent venture, Family Made Media, which we are so blessed to have the opportunity to be a part of that family, is an online network created to help celebrate and connect families on their journey wherever they may be. They continue to inspire millions, literally millions of people
Yes.
through their individual achievements
you. I'm just
and their
shouting them
shared commitment to make a positive impact in the world. Please welcome to the Growing with the Nhiras podcast, Andrew and Shawn Johnson. We are so glad.
Thank you,
I
guys.
know that makes you feel wildly uncomfortable.
Yes.
But you know what?
Yes.
We are so adamant
Yes.
about giving honor
Honor is
where
very
honor
important.
is due.
Thank
Wow.
you.
And so, we just wanted to make sure that we honor you correctly on this podcast. How are you guys doing?
Well, hold on. First of all, giving honor where honor is due. We are in a church, so let's give honor where
Yeah.
honor is due.
Amen.
Also, who wrote that up? Was that a chat GPT? Just like, hey, give me the bio.
I perused the internet.
Okay, it's great. It's great.
Well, one of the things that was most important that wasn't in there, you guys are wife, husband,
exactly.
mom, dad,
I don't know how I missed
beautiful children.
Thank you.
So cute.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I noticed about you guys when we first met is you're still connected.
Yeah, you're so connected.
Like, even you guys sat down and held hands. I'm like, that's so special.
Yeah.
I love being around couples that love each other and have been doing marriage for a long time.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So I'm
Agreed.
so grateful to be around, obviously, just who you are in general, but just a great marriage.
Thank you. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
I think marriage is the coolest thing ever invented, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Why is
So-
that?
All right, so we're on Instagram every now and then. You see
Yeah.
people jumping in the ice baths. They're like, all right, you want to do something hard? Jump in the ice bath for 3 minutes. You'll find something out about yourself. Or like, people are all about like self-development. And I don't
Yeah.
think there's any better tool for it
Yeah.
than marriage. And
Yeah.
self-development is not the goal for marriage, but it's
Yeah.
an awesome side effect.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the best at that. It's like Shawn and I will get in an argument and it's like, all right, we've had this conversation 90 times.
Yeah.
And it's ended in tears every time. But this go around, we're going to do something different. And it forces you to say, okay, maybe I'm the problem,
Wow.
We did an interview with a couple who said it like more wisely than we've heard yet.
Yeah.
And it was basically like, if you trust your spouse enough to get married,
Yeah.
then you should trust that they're the most realistic mirror of yourself. So whenever
It hurts.
whenever he
Yeah, it
with the way
does.
he explained it, he's like, when my wife comes to me and says I am acting like this, instead of being defensive, I have to trust that she's right. And that's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Where did you guys get that grid for
The
marriage?
value of marriage. Yeah.
Like where did that come from for you guys?
I would say I started kind of learning that grit of marriage through my parents. My parents met, to summarize a very long love story, they met when they were 12 at a roller rink. They got married at 16 before they even graduated high school
Come on.
to kind of get each other out of very poor situations. They had a very hard marriage, but a beautiful one. And they didn't have me until they were in their 30s. And I'm an only child. And they have just fought to connect and be in love and stay together through everything. And I loved watching that. There was nothing they couldn't get through. Like nothing.
Yeah. I have pretty awesome parents too.
Yeah.
But I think when we started, sharing our lives on YouTube and people were like, hey, you guys are couple goals and how do you do what you do? It was really a good challenge for us to say, well, we should learn as much as we can about marriage and learn all the lingo and the vocab
Wow.
and so we're still in the process of learning, but it's been really fun to like say, okay, well, people are looking to us for some sort of advice or inspiration and what do we do with that? How do we manage that in a wise way,
Wow.
And not to make it like bring it back to like a church, but my favorite thing about our marriage journey, when people started saying your couple goals, in the back of my mind I was like, well, if only you knew like what our relationship really looked like. And I feel like you have that same feeling in a church.
Yeah.
And we just kind of got so tired of reading all these tabloids saying unless you have a perfect marriage it's going to end in divorce.
Yeah.
And so we started just interviewing people and kind of going down this road of how can we make it work no matter what? Because
Yeah.
no marriage is perfect, nor will it ever be. And how can we make it the most beautiful thing, which has been fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, speaking of love stories, one of the first questions we always love to
We
ask
always ask.
is like, how did you fall in love? How did you
man.
meet? What was that process like?
Have you fallen in love yet? You think? Sean's moving a little slower on that. than me. First time I met Sean,
Hey, Andrew, I believe that you fell in love the first time you saw her.
I really did.
That's so sweet.
That is
Oh,
so
man.
sweet.
The first time I saw her
Oh my
smile,
gosh.
Wow.
I was like, "That's an angel right there."
wow.
And then she didn't talk to me. She ghosted me for 9 months.
I did.
That's what queens do,
And
I
I was
tell
like,
you.
I did.
I was hustling on the phone. I was like, all right, what do I got to do to get her attention?
Yeah.
So, but then she finally gave me one other chance.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I
And I fell in love on the second date. And I remember calling my mom and I was like, I feel like this is the guy I could marry.
Wow.
Yeah. But I made you work for it. I'm sorry.
I want to hear some of that story. I want to hear like the inception, like the groundwork of that love story.
So I had met Andrew's oldest brother at the Olympics. He was a USA cyclist at the Olympics competing. We met each other at an event. We just got to talking. All he wanted to talk about was Atlas Shrugged, the book.
You ever heard of that book?
I've never heard of it. What is it?
It's wild.
It's wild.
He said, "Don't even."
It's like, bro, it's this thick, and I think it's one of. Anyway, go ahead.
It's on like the philosophy of life. It's
Really?
wild.
Oh, man.
And it was one of those conversations where I was like, it was a good conversation, but at the end of it, I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to take away from this. And at the end of it, he's like, if you take away anything from our conversation, it's that I feel like you should meet my younger brother. We should go to Vanderbilt University instead of Stanford. And you should just meet him. Meet him. And fast forward, we came back to the U.S. I was living in Los Angeles. He had a race there. Andrew flew out. We went on a first date, and I just couldn't figure out how it would work. I'm such like a plan the future person, type A.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see how it worked.
Wow.
She was doing Dancing with the Stars, all these
Yeah.
TV shows. I was in college
Yeah.
playing football, so it was like just way different lives, you know?
Yeah.
Completely polar opposite at the time. And you were the most endearing person I'd ever met. Like everything that I could have dreamt of. And I remember having that feeling of like, you're way too good for me.
Wow.
Like I've lived this really, I don't want to say like rough life,
So
but like I had lived this life where he was like the image of perfection, like prayed before dinner, which I had lived in Los Angeles for so long up until that point. I had such a tainted image of humans and the world, but he's what I wanted as a little kid. And I was like, I'm too far gone for this.
Yeah.
And
All right, meanwhile, that might have been going on under the surface, but
Yeah.
we're on this date. It was like probably 3 hours we spent together the first time we met. We went to like 7 different restaurants. I was crushing food, like left. I got entree every place. So we were like sampling. It was my first time in LA, dude. And,
Sampling,
yeah,
gotcha.
it was like
but
a
I was
farmer's
eating
market.
entrees.
Yeah.
So, but I was cracking jokes, dude. I mean, I was on a roll, and she was nothing. I literally got the one smile that I told you made me fall in love with her was at like the end of the night. I was like saying goodbye, and I said something dumb, and I finally got a smile.
We've never even talked about that. We should. So I don't want to like go on tangents for hours.
Yeah.
But not to get like dark here.
Yeah.
But I truly had such a tainted image.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could like I was only 20 years old at the time. I had lived on my own for about 3 years. I'd been traveling the country since I was 12. I had observed so much of life.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was very hard.
Yeah.
And I just sat there and watched you all night,
Wow.
trying to figure out what your motive was. Because in my mind, everyone had it. Yeah. And I just kept coming back to, is this guy for real?
Wow.
Like, is this an act or is this like him? And I do remember at the very end of the night, you caught me off guard because I was like, I actually think this is just him. And it was so sweet. But it also scared me to death because I was like, there are actually it gave me this glimmer of hope for the first time in a long time of like, are there actually these good people still out there?
Wow.
And then I ran very hard. I was like, no, I can't. I don't deserve this guy. So, so
actually come to my eyes.
Okay, literally, we've got 2 family-made media movies to make. One, your parents' story,
I
and
know.
then 2, yours next.
Yeah. No.
Recreated the first date. That would be painful to watch. But
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did sorry to stay on this for a little bit, but I know the people want this.
They love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it.
What broke your wall down? Like, what was the moment that just shattered the
That's
veil?
such a great question.
That was like, what happened that...
His text messages.
Oh.
He texted me relentlessly for 9 months.
Wow.
And I was very harsh. I didn't text him back for a long time. And everything was just so kind and so endearing and so like beautiful. And you finally sent this one text that just went back to reinforcing this is actually just who he is.
Yeah.
And it was the cheesiest, kind of weirdest, but like so sweet, long message. And it was like, Miss Johnson, if football has taught me anything, it's how to persevere in life.
So
and like,
dumb.
oh, it was like, it was long.
It's ridiculous.
This was his final go at it. He was like, I will leave you alone, all these things, but let me give it another shot. Will you accompany me to the CMA Fest?
Wow.
Come to Nashville, meet my friends, like all these things. And I don't know what happened, but I was like, yeah.
Wow.
He did not expect that, by the way. He didn't have tickets to the CMA Fest. He didn't expect me to say yes.
So, bro, I blew up every contact in my phone. Because I'm a college, don't have any money. And I'm blowing up everybody. I was like, anybody have free CMA tickets they could give me? Because I promised Shawn we'd be in a suite. And I was like, oh, geez. But we made it work, bro.
You made it work.
Oh, I gotta hear that story. Oh, goodness gracious.
Remember we met up with a random guy on the
Which I didn't understand.
The guy who gave us tickets was like, yeah, I'll give you my tickets, but I want to meet Shawn.
Which
Wow.
he played it off really well that I never even caught on to it.
Yeah.
That was the only thing
was
that
the
you
Lord.
probably did. But, and then not to go down this dark road again, but when I flew to Nashville, again, this tainted image of people and intentions and motives, people, because of the Olympics, they would throw out all the stops to just like impress with money and material and things that really didn't matter. And I remember Andrew picked me up and he showed me this paper towel that he had written a full itinerary on with a Sharpie.
I crushed it, though.
And the first stop was the Vanderbilt baseball game. And I was like, okay, we're going to go watch a game, sit in like a VIP suite or something.
Yeah.
And he took me to the top of a parking garage where all of his friends were waiting and they were tailgating and grilling out. And you single-handedly introduced me to all of your friends. And you treated me like a human. Like you actually cared about my heart and not anything of who I was. And it just let me let my guard down. And I fell head over heels.
But it's interesting because with Shawn's case, she is in such a her whole story starting when she was 12 as a professional gymnast. That's when she turned pro was 12. And she's just lived a way different life. But I've thought about this in parallel with almost faith too, where it's like, sometimes we could let our insecurities be an obstacle for love, where it's like, you have this, like, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. And it's like, it's just a really interesting, when I think about our dating story, I feel like that plays in where she was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a good guy, but that's what she was thinking. Like, he might be
You
too
are.
good for me. And I was like, dang, don't do that. Like, let me love you. You know, and like now we have kids. It's like the same thing. Like, I just want to love you.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Oh, it was amazing.
anyway.
That's so special.
Oh my
Alright.
god.
That's honestly,
so special.
I really don't like when people like hear a story and then share their own personal story. But I can relate with knowing that, okay, this is somebody for my life when I have such a high standard. And then the moment I'm like, oh, actually, my standard, you surpass it and I don't feel worthy. I was like, oh, wow, like, I know this is somebody that the Lord has brought, because there's no way my standards were so high, you know? And I just think that's so special. And even just seeing your guys' connection and listening to you just look at him when you share it, it's like, wow, that's so
sweet.
special.
That is so sweet.
And Brian and I are just like, this is the best.
it's such a beautiful story. It really
is. We care about
is.
people's stories.
Yes.
There's so much thought. Obviously, we're pastors, so it's like we look at life through this lens a lot. It's like there's so much intentionality of the great designer to like how he moves our lives around so meticulously. And it's a masterpiece. And it's like that needs to be appreciated when you hear obstacles that people overcome to be connected. And look, you have two beautiful children and you guys started family media, and I'm sure there's so many other things that you guys do that we just don't know about, but it's like that matters. That is changing the world. And I remember, so when I was like preparing for, okay, what am I going to ask? You know, what am I going to ask this couple? Like, what actually matters?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how when I was in high school, you know, they usually like your junior and senior year, they're just pushing it down your throat. Like, what school are you going to go to? What degree are you going to blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I just want to change the world. But like not for my namesake. Like, what can I do that will have the most impact on the world? I don't care if people know my name. Like, literally think about Mother Teresa. For real. It's like, obviously the Lord elevated her name, but she wasn't in it for that.
Yes.
She was doing the most unglamorous thing. And that usually can be some of the biggest ways to make impact. Because heroes don't usually ever feel like heroes. But I just reflect on that thought.
Yeah.
And I think about the choices that y'all have made together as a couple.
Yes.
And I believe that Family Made Media has the potential to make a massive impact.
Yeah.
And I just respect that. And I lead into a question. It's like, how did you guys make that choice to, because you could be doing, I'm sure, a million other things.
Yes.
You know, there's only so many hours in a day, hours in a week, years that we get to live. So it's like, why choose this and use your influence for something of family?
Yeah.
Don't you think it's true that if you were just to objectively step back and say, all right, well, which would be a more interesting life to live? Which would create larger ripples? Is it trying to grow my bank account or buy another vacation house or upgrade my car? Like that's such a finite, capped.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
I did all this when I was 40 and then I retired, and it's like, what did you do? You just went golfing? And it's like, okay, but let's just, like, Tim Tebow, I think, has done this so well where it's like,
Yes. Yes.
that dude is just, he's not made it about himself
Yeah.
or his bank accounts or anything. It's like, oh no, he's deflected that, and it's actually the impact, the potential of it is so much higher than like me, you know, and the legacy. If that's what you're trying to optimize for is legacy, then it definitely is a better strategy to try to build something that's not just for you, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. And when we're talking at Legacy Church, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what is a legacy that matters? And it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's pointing to, you know, God.
Yes.
So I'll let you answer the Family Made Media, but that's my backdrop thought.
I would say Andrew and I kind of bounced around within like the career path, trying to figure out what we wanted to do for a while. We've been married 7 years now, and I'd say for 5 of them, it was NFL and then trying to figure out what we wanted to do next and what I wanted to do and all these different things. And the only way I can explain it is every time we found ourselves in a new career path, we just kept feeling empty.
Wow.
It would be fun. We'd get traction with it, be successful, whatever, or not. And at the end of the day, we'd be like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, what? There's no like why behind it other than it works. And Family Made was the first thing that we kind of created and came up with, where it was the first question, or like it was the first thing we came up with that we couldn't see how it would be successful, but we had an immediate why.
Wow.
Come on.
And I feel like up until then, everything we created was swapped. It was kind of like, we know this will work and we'll figure out the why later. And I remember writing, it was basically Family Made on a whiteboard 5 years ago. 6
Shout out
years
to
ago.
The anointing on whiteboards.
Whiteboards, yeah.
Whiteboards.
And we didn't know what it was, but it was
Yeah.
this idea. And we just kept wanting to do something that was purposeful. And now having babies and seeing how polarized the world is and how much negativity there is out there and how much negative influence, we said, what's the one thing that's kind of given us a foundation? And it's been our family and our faith. And I think uplifting families is a way to unify a lot of people again.
Yeah.
And lead by example. And if people get curious, they'll find faith there.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Which I think
exactly
is
right.
great.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we believe that wholeheartedly.
But it's true. Yeah, it's one of those things where like every day you're like, this feels good.
Yeah.
It
No
gets me
matter how it's doing.
Gosh, it's like, it gets me so excited because if you think about political discussions, the starting point for those is like Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's like the operating system that everyone approaches that conversation through. What I think is so cool about families is that it touches all the different, you know, hey, how do you deal with technology, or how do you deal with a budget, or, you know, and which goes to the household budget all the way to the government budget, whatever. You could teach so many different things through this lens of family, but the foundation is something that everyone can empathize with, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Like, everyone has some family experience. So it's like, I think that just lends itself to such a more friendly dialogue and like a healthier conversation than like, hey, let's just butt heads perpetually to no end. like we're seeing on the news or like in politics. It's like, oh wait, what if we just kind of related to each other on the one thing that we can all talk about? And it's like, oh, you lost your dad, or like, your son's, ill, whatever it is. It's like, that just is a great starting point, There's so much empathy there.
Yeah, that is so good.
All right, listen, we'd like to thank today's partner, Needed. If you're a parent out there, you know that once you have kids, getting a good night's sleep is a luxury.
Yes. And I don't know about you, but as a mom, I often feel tired but wired at the same time. Does that make sense? Which makes it really hard to fall asleep. There's always so many thoughts going through my head of things that I need to get done. I need to listen to the monitor. I need to whatever, all of it. And it can be hard to wind down. I started using Needed sleep support, and it's been helping us fall asleep better.
I agree. Men can use this product too. So for all my dads out there not getting a full night's sleep, trust me, you also need this product.
Andrew and I have been taking Needed sleep and relaxation support supplement right before bed, and it's changed our sleep quality. I love the brand Needed because their products are created in partnership with over 4,000 perinatal and women's health practitioners, and they formulate their products with science-backed safe and effective ingredients.
Needed sleep and relaxation support is chamomile flavored powder that you mix with water. It's not bitter, and it doesn't leave a weird aftertaste. It's actually sweetened with monk fruit, so there's no added sugar that you're drinking before bed.
And for all the mamas out there, it's also safe during pregnancy and if you're breastfeeding, which is awesome because most sleep aids are off limits during that time. Learn more about Needed's complete line of products, which is all in our cabinet at home, including their sleep support and other women's health supplements at thisisneeded.com. Use the code FAMILYMADE for 20% off at thisisneeded.com.
We'll also link it down below. Let's get back to it.
So good. I would really love I want to get more into Family Made Media and just get into like, the intricate details of the vision of Family Made. But I want to back up and talk a little bit more about influence. And I've kind of had this enamorment with influence since I was in college. And I had like a moment where like the Lord spoke to my heart and he said, hey, in the days that are coming, influence will be the currency of the day. Influence will be the currency that's spent. Does that make sense? And obviously it's become that. And I think that as I think about influence, influence is meant to be a river that leads to, like, proverbially to the ocean of impact. And so many people get caught up with influence as almost like a reservoir that they don't use wisely. How did you, like, where was the moment where you were like, hey, I've been given this influence, but I'm not going to spend it on myself. I'm going to use this influence and spend it for the world to be better. Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Do you have an answer for that, Mr. Primetime?
For you?
No, not for me, for you.
Yeah, when was that reconciling moment for you?
I think for me, seeing the pain in the world, seeing like the pain and seeing people, injustice, and not just on like what we usually see injustice, like injustice of like people not being able to walk in freedom in their heart, freedom in their mind, to live in hope, to live in healing, to live in, a restored life. That's really what like awakened my heart to being able to live a life where I spend my influence for impact.
You should share the phrase that the Lord gave you in college, like the mission statement.
Yes, please.
For you.
To be an instrument. Oh, okay. Yeah, while I was in college, as I'm doing music, as I'm doing all these different things and just trying to figure out, again, like, why am I doing this? Like, why in the world have I been called to do this thing? And I felt like what the Lord put in my heart was, to be an instrument of hope, healing, restoration, and inspiration. And obviously there's mediums, through the medium of music, media, and family. I think family is like coming to the equation more so lately. But I just think it's so important. I look at you guys, and I'm kind of baffled. I'm like, y'all could easily be a reality star couple who is, who everybody is
And
you know, just,
that's not evil. It's not bad.
and that's not evil, but it could stop there.
Yeah.
It could stop right there, and everybody just is enamored with you, enamored with like the fact that you have a lot of influence, and you could literally just bank on that for the rest of your life. Bank on the fact that you are an influential couple, a power couple in the United States. But it's like, no, you're like, we want to start a family media company.
This is powerful. It's
Which
really
it's
powerful.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Could you imagine my mom if we did like a reality TV show?
Oh my gosh.
That's probably the answer right there. Is my mom? You got an answer.
Well, I was just gonna say the thing that I keep coming back to is I feel like I lived a wild, vast majority of my life at such a young age.
Yeah.
And I've always just been by nature the kind of person that has to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah.
And I think because I was a kid, kind of thrown into such a limelight world,
Yeah.
I was influenced by
Yeah.
so much that caused depression and eating disorders and insecurities
Wow.
and a lot of pain through that I had to learn from.
Wow.
And I think by the time I started dating Andrew and we got married and we ended up venturing into this world of like intentional influence with social media, I was so hurt by the
Wow.
way influence hurt me
Wow.
that we kind of made it an unintentional mission to make sure everything we put out was for good. And
Wow.
I think we learned it the hardest way when we posted a video about our miscarriage.
Wow.
And it was the first time I desperately needed influence from other people to help me.
Yeah.
And when I saw the good that came from it, it kind of repositioned our path to just be like, how can we
Wow.
make sure that every single thing we do, whether it's a goofy video about our marriage or our kids,
Wow.
how can we make sure that every angle it could be viewed in is going to influence someone in a good way?
Wow.
It's been so fun to be front seat to Shawn's fame, you know, to whatever degree she has it. Like to be front row to her walking into a room and people would just break down in tears because they're
Wow.
like, you're my idol. I look
yeah.
up to.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we started dating. I started seeing this, and I've always loved, I guess, like the philosophical discussions whenever they come around. And my dad was like an awesome teacher and had this insatiable curiosity.
Yeah.
So I started thinking like, okay, well, what is like fame is so interesting, right? It's like
Yeah.
you have this moment where this person who's looked up to Shawn meets her for the first time, and there's this, you know, evocative moment created with tears.
Yeah.
You know, it's like powerful. So then what do you do with that? It's like, okay, you see that 10 times and you're like, well, what's next? Like
Wow.
what, like, is there a, what do you do with it? How do you
What do you
steward
do
it?
with it? Yeah.
Thank goodness too, by the way, that it's been her that's been the big deal and not me. Otherwise I feel like it could get ugly pretty quick, like with the ego, but she's been so humble through it all.
I really don't think so, but I do think something that has blessed our career
Yeah.
is because I was a kid who went through it. I was given a lot more grace as a child
Yeah.
than I was as an adult. So my head got way too big for myself. I went through, I did everything wrong. I learned from it. I came back from it. And I think because of that, now within our career, I actually think you would never deal with that because you're just too good.
Stop.
And I think there have been many opportunities for that to happen to both of us.
Yeah.
But it will trigger a memory where I'm like, I kind of went down that route when I was 15 or 16, and this is what happened. And so we get to like relive those memories together, and we're like, yeah, I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I do just want to say, you know, forget the fact that like we have mics in front of us and it's being recorded. It's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I don't really care about that. Like, thank you for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like, it can make me cry because I know so many women that go through miscarriages and like really, really scary ones, really hard ones.
Yeah.
And that's like one drop in the bucket of the issues that people deal with. And to be to have impact is to make yourself vulnerable to the world.
Exactly.
And that's just what it is. And that's when I said earlier, I really believe that statement, heroes don't usually feel like heroes. People who feel like heroes usually aren't as impactful as they think that they are.
Yeah.
And I just think, it's a big deal for you both to put your family on display for the world, in hopes that the world would learn and receive blessing and, learn and grow and be transformed, praise God. But that comes at a cost at some point,
Yeah.
And if nobody has said thank you, like thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
real.
thank you for
Thank
spending
you.
your currency of influence in this way. It's a big deal. And, when we first met, like, I really meant it when we asked, like, how can we serve, like, this vision, that you have on your heart, and that you've built something around it. And it's like, I really hope that we can serve this vision because we believe in it. And we believe in you guys. Like, I know that you're saying you're not humble, but a humble person says, like, I'm not that humble. It's great. You can see the humility that's amongst you. And we're just honored, even just to sit here and have a conversation. It helps us learn. And that's, for us, our phrase is like, learn and grow with us, because that's why we're doing this, is because we're not claiming we know everything. We just want to have real conversations and really try to learn, because we're trying to figure it out, because family's so important to us.
I think the world is so in need of people who will be rivers, like people who will live their lives unto something bigger. I think we've just got so many reservoirs and so many people who are like just ponds, like thinking that everything.
And what's interesting is that if you don't have water flowing out, then it becomes a cesspool.
It becomes toxic. And so that's the cool thing about just looking at your guys' lives and everything that you guys have done and are doing, is like, it's always unto something bigger than yourself. And did you have something to say?
I was gonna say I'm just glad to know you two, because you guys are the coolest. But on the note of, I guess, the perspective, we live by a Civil War historic site, and there's a plaque there that says, we've lost so many of our men, our brothers here on this hill, and their names won't be remembered, but may the leaves be the crown upon their heads and the shadows be their cloak. Whoa. And like, something about that, just we do this walk all the time, and I read that and I think about it. And if I think about our family or our time here on this earth, and you think about it in that perspective, where it's like, man, our great grandkids won't know our names, but our family, we're stewarding our family, for the next 60 years. And, and our family is not something that, like, we just started. It's been going on for thousands of years, and it will continue for a long time after us. And so it's not, I don't think the takeaway is to be nihilistic about it and be like, well, no one's going to remember us, hands up, and it doesn't matter what we do. I think it's more this humbling perspective of, okay, well, we have the next 60 years to steward it. And how can we set up the next generation better? How can we prepare them? How can we equip them to put them in a better situation? And I think when you view it from like a society, cultural standpoint too, like, I think that's a good way to view it, where it's like, hey, our role ultimately, like, we could probably just be subbed in for somebody else, but I want to do the best job I can for the time that I have it. So anyway.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Okay, I want to talk more about Family Made Media and just like the vision. And you briefly touched it, but I know there's some more layers to it. Why Family Made? Why the family? What is your passion, for the family and the future of the family?
There's a million different visions.
Hey, let's go.
To start with, this, like, the first line that we wanted was, I can't stand going on social media and being influenced by such negativity. So many things, whether it's promiscuous or vulgar or crude or polarizing, it drains you. And we live in a world where so much of that consumes your time. We said, how can we flood social media with good content? it can be funny, it can be edgy, it can be whatever, but it can have a good foundation.
Yeah.
And we kind of said all this effort we're putting into like our platforms, why don't we hire a team and do that with every good content creator out there who's got a good mission?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, I just want to drown out all the negativity, especially, honestly, not even for myself, because I've built up, I feel like, a strong enough armor to defend it, but for our
Yeah.
kids,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah, flood the internet with good stuff.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Simple and good.
I mean, we have a blast with
Yeah.
what we do. So
Yeah.
that definitely plays into it. But I mean, Sean's had this experience of standing on top of a podium at the Olympics,
Yeah.
having a gold medal draped over his shoulders, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's been more fulfilling to be a mom and parent kids. And so like the more we could
That's awesome.
deflect all the attention towards, hey, actually, you know, accolades are great, trophies are nice and shiny, but the most important, meaningful thing in life are these little guys, and it's so fun. I think that would be mission accomplished, right? That's what the goal is, to say, look, everyone online that you see is trying to make $1 million or use AI to build the next business or get a six pack, and it's like, oh, that stuff is fine, sure, do all that if you're interested in it, but don't lose sight of the main priority
That's
here.
right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's right.
So
That's so
And
good.
we also started reading all these statistics about how common divorce is and how the next generation never wants to get married and how the next generation doesn't want to have kids or buy homes or like have any of that foundation that is just good.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying buying a house is what you need, but
yeah.
Yeah.
it's having that family, whatever it looks like. It doesn't need to be biological. It doesn't, like, every family looks different.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the brokenness in the world is because you don't have that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
This may take us on a tangent, but have you heard of NDERs? It's near death. It's like scientific research of near death experiences.
whoa.
Yeah.
I
you should look
geek
into it.
out. There's a
Pretty
book
wild.
I'll
It's crazy.
recommend. I'll send you a link.
I'm
Where
into it.
this pastor compiles all of this research from all over the world of people from different religions, backgrounds, ages, languages, of people who've had, you know, medical near-death experiences where they die, come back, and then they have an experience after they die. There's various experiences, right? There's like really nice heavenly experiences, and then obviously really dark experiences. What we obviously see described in scripture. And there's all these commonalities of all these different people from all these cultures who have these core experiences that are alike in both places. And there was a pastor in California who was a mega church, you know, had all these ministries, was impacting like the city, taking care of, you know, like single moms, like had all these crazy ministries impacting their city. He dies, is above the table, watching him trying to be resuscitated by the doctors. And the Lord speaks to him. And because so many of these people have like these life reviews, like either with the Lord or like with an angel and the Lord is present. And the Lord says one thing to him while he's looking at his body, like on the table. And he says, do you know your son's best friend's name? Boom, back into his body. What was the Lord saying?
Oh, damn.
You have not prioritized the highest call. Are you connected to your child enough that you care about his friend's name? So at the end of his life, he has all these accolades and good accolades, right?
Yeah.
Like as a Christian, I'm like, yes, that's the goal, right? But even the Lord was like, but are you connected to your son enough to care about knowing his friend's name? And, you know, also in that book that I read, which I also geek out in general, there's so many interviews you can watch. In these life experiences, the Lord always skips over accolades, and it's wild. And people will literally be like, but what about I won the Nobel Peace Prize? Like, what's going on? We're not talking about that. And the Lord will be like, yeah, but how did what you said to this person, how did that make them feel? And it's all about loving our neighbor and caring for people. And it just puts into perspective, it's not that those things are bad. They can be really great and they're awesome. And I think the Lord, there is a special place to celebrate accolades.
Yeah.
But I think the Lord prioritizes, very clearly, how important he believes like the family unit is.
Oh, yeah.
But because before he created the church, he operated in a family.
Yeah.
Like he operated in family lines
Yeah.
before the New Testament came and he operated in a church.
Yeah.
So he's very clear, about how important family is.
Yeah.
And I just share that story to say it's just humbling to think about how important this thing is that Family Made Media is reaching to do, which is to uplift the family. And I'm really honored to be a part of it.
Yeah.
What's your guys' mission or philosophy as you raise your kids?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Make sure that they don't
Live.
grow up and decide. I'm just kidding.
Right now, we're like in survival.
It's like survival mode right now. So make sure that they are alive in 3 years.
Like I saved my son's life multiple times a day.
Yeah. Our little one, you got these steps. Sorry. You need to feel the damn break. You feel it?
Oh, yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
I feel like for me, man, raising, I have 2 boys right now. And so, raising 2 boys who first and foremost, like for me, they love the Lord. And then every outworking of their life being from that, then they love their parents. They love their wife. Then they're able to love their kids and work hard. So I think that for me, like and I'm really in the process of thinking about that a lot as my especially my 3-year-old is growing older and he's having more conversations with me.
You're like, how do you know
Exactly.
that phrase?
How do you know?
How can you articulate yourself in this way?
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Yeah. So I think it's very for me right now, for us right now, it's very basic in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. We are in extended conversations about our family values, our mission. And like, I need our boys, because they will be men one day.
Yeah.
It's like, I need the Nhira men to be able to know their mission, be able to state it off, to be anchored in who they are, because I need them to go into atmospheres and influence it, because influence is not bad, and know how to channel that river to glorify God, uplift, protect, all those things, right?
Yeah.
So I would say we're on a journey and we're super excited, because I want our family culture to be a generational thing. It may die with us, but I really don't want it to.
Yeah.
I don't want it to. So I'm going to give my life to raising our family to the highest level of excellence that I can. And I pray that life's work produces a generational fruit and not just like, oh, we had a great childhood. It's like, I want you to be set up for when I'm long gone.
Yeah.
So
I'm hyped.
I want to hear you talk about like family mission and value as well. And I would also love to like, as a second question, like how do you in this season of your life where you guys are like really building a lot, you're building Family Made, and then also you just have your lives and careers. How are you staying connected as a family?
Yeah, that's
like,
so
how are you staying connected to your kids in this process of them growing, even as you're busy?
Let me take a stab at the family mission.
Yeah, see if we can. We haven't memorized it yet, but we did it. We did the mission and
That's
value.
amazing.
So, and I told you my goal would be I've started putting together like a booklet of how do you form a family mission, family personal values, family values, form tradition, culture, like what are the healthy routines to have as a family. We have Sunday night meetings.
Oh, that's awesome.
We have like morning family devotions, which sometimes is the only time that Shawn and I get.
Wow.
We do morning couples devotions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I would say right now it's a work in progress, but members of the East family are comfortable with being uncomfortable, and they do so with exceedingly great joy, and with a peace that surpasses understanding. So like
Wow.
there's
That's
Fun.
amazing.
What were the values? Was it 4?
4 values. Yeah.
Remember what they were?
No, not off the top of my head.
I
we got to pull up
That's
the
amazing.
pamphlet,
I
but
I love this conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on.
it's interesting that like, cause that's what we take with us is family traditions, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you have to work hard for that. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
gosh, doing a family camping trip every year. That's a lot of pushback, and not everyone's like all on board about it. And we're about to have kids that are gonna have some opinions soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, anyway,
Who's not on board?
Me.
I don't want to name any names.
Me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glamping is the
Glamping,
vibe.
yeah, that's a good great
Yeah.
R&B.
Yes.
That's so funny.
How do you think we stay connected though?
We've put in a lot of boundaries for work,
Yeah.
which has, I mean, we're still working on every single day of what doesn't feel good, what does, what keeps us grounded and not. But I don't know. I think we just make a really big effort when it comes to like the balance.
Yeah.
I don't know how better to describe it other than when things start getting out of balance, our whole family is affected and you can feel it.
Yeah.
And whether it's like separation anxiety with our kids, they don't want you to ever leave. You can't even go to work.
Wow.
Like you can feel when your family dynamic is not good.
Yeah.
And so we try really hard to protect that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Do you remember what Pastor John from, I don't know where his church is in Europe,
John Norman. Yes. Yeah.
he described something that you're talking about, which changed my paradigm of understanding, like discerning when your family needs to recalibrate.
Yeah.
And he was like,
yeah.
I can't remember exactly how he described it, but he's like, our family, we kind of have a needle, and it's like, work, family. He said some seasons you'll just naturally need to go more work, but you know that after the end of that season, it has to
to go
swing
back.
back. It can't go to the center. It has to swing back
Oh, yeah.
more to family. And so I love that you just described being able to like discern that as a family and knowing when we need to swing both ways. And it's a hard skill to learn, and it takes discipline.
I mean, we've even noticed it like planning travel, because we'll start planning travel months in advance, and it'll be like, okay, we have to be gone an entire week from the kids.
Yeah.
So what's happening the weeks following?
Yeah.
We can't like overload work. It has to be it has to be us and the kids. Are we taking them on their own trip? Are we doing date nights with them? Are we like, how can we restore that balance that's too heavy on one side?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean like every day is balanced. It's just you have to kind of figure
Yeah,
it out.
absolutely.
Do you have trouble with that at all, or is it something that comes like easy for you?
Honestly, I feel super fortunate to the fact that we talk about families like on our podcast.
Yeah.
Really kind of forces us to like, all right, well, we got to make sure our house is in order.
That,
You know what I'm
that's
saying? It's like-
good. That's really good. That's how I feel
accountability
like
too.
it really is. And Shawn is not the type to like, if we're not vibing, we're not doing an interview. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
love it.
It's
That's
like-
good.
I love it.
you might
That's
get some
good.
cancellations from us, and it's like, we got to take care of what needs to be taken care of.
Respect.
But
That's awesome.
I
it's
will
not always
say,
fun.
You've canceled before?
oh yeah.
That's awesome.
What do you mean, bro?
Oh yeah. We canceled full trips before because the night before our kids will have a meltdown. It won't feel right, and I'll be like, "We're not going."
Wow.
And I think
respect that so much.
for me, we definitely like. There's a lot of push and pull.
Yeah.
Andrew's more the adventurous, like it'll all work out. I'm more of like the it's not going to.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I think my biggest fear is
It is.
we're both so ambitious.
Yeah.
And we want to build so much. My biggest fear is losing the importance of, or just period, losing our family connection.
Yeah.
And
wow.
so almost to a fault, I will put more stress on our family, making sure we stay within our boundaries because I never want to go too far.
That's so special.
And it can cause a lot of tension because I'll be like, we're canceling this interview.
Yeah.
We're not doing it.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is the team aspect of our marriage. I'm super thankful for.
Yeah.
And I was I was researching the term Eve in Hebrew means beneficial adversary. Have you heard of this? So it's like
That's right.
Hey, here I
and
am.
so it's taken me 7 years.
It all makes sense now.
I'm just kidding. But like, it took me 7 years. I'm talking like just 2 months ago. I learned this.
The
and I was
amount
like,
of
oh my
times I've
gosh.
heard beneficial adversary
No,
in the
but
past
it
couple months.
rocks my world, and now I'm hyped about it. I used to
Yeah.
get so frustrated at like the difference in perspective. I was like,
Yeah.
Shawn, why can't you just see things like
Yeah.
this is what the obvious choice is, right? And she's like, I don't see it like that.
Yeah.
And I used to get frustrated, but now I'm like, oh, things are way better when I have your perspective added to it.
That's
And
good.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of presidential biographies, right? So I just
Yeah.
read through Abraham Lincoln's.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And he's amazing in the sense that his whole cabinet was purposely constructed
Yeah.
to have people from different viewpoints.
Oh my
And it's like if you think
goodness.
about the effect of
That's
like
awesome.
iron,
should be a
iron
requirement.
sharpens,
That should be a
Seriously.
requirement in every
Yeah.
Yes.
arena.
but it's like
Yeah.
oh gosh, you get such a fuller understanding, you just get a better picture of everything that's going on when you get more perspectives, and I think it's so
Yeah.
powerful. But anyway, that's my new thing is like, oh, you're just my beneficial adversary right now.
Exactly.
I get it.
I hear this
get
a
it.
lot.
We were
But-
talking about that earlier because we were talking about the process of like buying a house or building a house. And, you know, I was talking about how like early in our marriage, like she was talking about a house and I was like, we ain't got no money for a house. But she kept pushing
I was
me on
like,
like,
"It's
we need
time."
a house.
Yeah.
I need a house for my boys.
And I was
But
like,
it
"What about this
I
one?"
would be mad. I'll be so mad. I was like, you know our financial position. But it was like, no, I actually needed her to be that beneficial adversary to push me to be a man
Yeah.
and to figure it out. Like to figure out how in the world are we going to get our boys a backyard so that they can run and play and do all the things. You know what I mean?
And guess what?
Yeah.
You got a
We
house.
got a house. Absolutely,
I
man.
love this like football.
Yeah.
go.
Without a
I
doubt.
know.
Without a doubt. By the way, I did go and see Hamilton on Saturday.
Let's go.
It was amazing.
Did you see it?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't.
It
I was here with
in
the
New
kids.
York just for like
Yeah.
a day and a half. It was unbelievable. Okay, we're kind
And
of
he literally he said, you wouldn't like it.
I was like, nah,
No.
you wouldn't like it, baby. But I was like, I'm going back to watch it in New York again. I'll probably take my son because he will love it. It
Yeah,
was
he's very
unbelievable.
musical. Yeah.
Yes,
But-
I would love to come with you, Brian.
Oh
Thank you
my
for the
gosh, I
invite.
would
Yeah.
love that. I would love that. And also Disney. We gotta go. I saw you guys were at Disney.
Dude,
That wasn't the first time your family's been
First
together.
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
The kids love it.
They loved it.
Oh my.
And we did like I was really nervous about like how long are they gonna last at
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
And we
Oh my
did
gosh,
we did
am
like
I
9 to
so
5.
Let's go.
They
amazing.
loved it.
That's
Yeah.
so sweet.
They did so good. And it's so magical seeing it through their eyes.
Oh my gosh, it's the best.
It's like, here, look at this. Because you just
Yeah.
want to
I
watch your
know.
kids experience it. It's
Yeah.
so special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, we are so grateful that we are connected to you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Absolutely.
thank you for inviting us in to the Family Made Teen family. And thank you again. I'm probably going to remind you every single time. But thank you just for like using your influence to make the world and make the family a better place and a better unit.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so important and it's so powerful. One of the things we do to end all of our podcasts is we just ask our guests to pray. Andrew, would you feel comfortable just praying us out?
I would love to. And also, before I do, thank you guys for having the same mission, the same vision. We're all on this journey together.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
it's really special. All right.
Yeah.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for Brian and Sonia and this platform that they have used to glorify you. I pray that you give them confidence and comfort as they continue to do this. May their smile shine bright as always, and may you be with them step by step, no matter what the future holds. We're so thankful for you and all the blessings that you give us, whether we're prepared for them or not, whether they look like a nice shiny object or there's a little bit of pain associated with it. We're thankful for it, and we pray that we maintain that perspective, and pray that this conversation would maybe strike someone.
That's right.
And point them to you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Growing with the Nhiras, presented by Family Made Media. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you go and leave a review and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to or watching on.
Dang, that was good. I just want to spend more time with them. They're
Same.
great.
I want to be interviewed by them on a weekly basis.
What if we interviewed them?
We could do that too.
Let's-
But I feel like they had better questions than we do.
I agree. They definitely have better questions.
I also just want to be best friends with them.
Yeah. But again, that was an episode of Growing with the Nhiras. So if you like that episode, go check out their podcast. It is part of the Family Made Network. And they just do a great job with everything they do. So they're on Instagram, YouTube. You've probably seen them before. Brian was actually on The Voice and
Yes.
slayed. That dude can sing.
Yes.
But we love their show. Sean and I both do. And you need to check them out. Check out some other episodes to see if it's for you. Subscribe to it, like it on YouTube, comment, whatever you got to do. But thank you guys so much for having us, Brian and Sonia. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you for listening. And that's all we have. I'm Andrew.
I'm Shawn.
We're the East Fam.